Good morning, friends. I am K.C. Jain, Honorary Director of Adhyatma Sadhana Kendra, Chhatarpur, dedicated to promoting Preksha meditation for inner peace. The topic of our talk today is inner silence. One may rightly ask, why do we require silence, and that too the inner silence at all? The nature has given us ability to speak, ability to think, ability to analyze, ability to act. Why we should be going other way round? Or in other words, are we not going against the law of the nature itself? It therefore becomes very important that we try to understand the nature of our own existence and what are the laws governing it. I am K.C. Jain. Now, who is K.C. Jain? The one that you are able to see in flesh and blood, who is talking to you, or the one which is known as consciousness, the life force, which is invisible? Are they two different or they are one? There is no denying the fact that these two are independent of each other. This body can exist without the consciousness. Consciousness is something which is driving this body, and the moment it is separated from the body, it becomes non-functional, dysfunctional. So, can you say that this body is K.C. Jain? Suppose I was dead, would you still call me K.C. Jain, or would you say that this is the body of K.C. Jain? Conversely, we do not know what is the consciousness, who is the consciousness of K.C. Jain. So, how do we recognize and address it as K.C. Jain? Probably it will be more appropriate to say that for knowing K.C. Jain, we have to know that there are two elements. One is the consciousness and one is the body, and a combination of two, a coexistence of two is known as K.C. Jain. So, once we have known that there are two separate elements, then we have to know about their nature also. In fact, if we go into the physics of it, the physics of the nature itself, we will find that the entire universe is made of two independent forces complementary to each other. They coexist, they complement each other, but they are at the same time independent of each other. For example, the language of computer is 0 and 1. We have negative and positive currents in the electricity. If both the currents are not there, we will not be able to switch on the light. Or look at the gravitational pull. There are two different elements pulling each other in different direction, and because of that gravitational pull in different directions, both are able to coexist. If there was a pull only in unidirection, and if there was a matter only in one direction, then there will be no end and they will not coexist, meaning thereby that everything in universe is binary in nature and they coexist, men and women. We can give infinite number of examples. For our purpose, consciousness and body, these are two elements which coexist and which are essential for making both of them functional. A body needs consciousness to be alive, to be functional, and a consciousness needs a body to manifest itself. Without the body, the consciousness cannot be manifested. The energy of the consciousness cannot be put to use, but they have different nature, and that is totally opposite to each other in many respects. Any matter, body is made of matter, any matter has to have four properties. It has to have color, taste, smell and touch. And on the other hand, consciousness will not be having any of them. It is without color, without taste, without touch or without smell. It is nirguna nirakara. It does not have any properties, it is propertyless, and since it is propertyless, it is formless also, because to be of the form you have to have a property. So, the matter is with properties and consciousness is without the properties. To know the properties of the matter, we have sensory organs, we have the body, and body, to make it functional, has the sensory organs. We have sensory organ for the touch, for the smell, for the taste, or for seeing, for the color. So, unless we were having the sensory organs, we would not be knowing the properties of the matters. Now, that alone is not enough. While the sensory organs help us to know the changes into the matter, the changes that are happening around us, the properties of the matter, it is the mind which stores whatever has been experienced by our sensory organs. It is the job of the mind to memorize them, to keep its memory and to visualize based on that. So, memory and visualization are the functions of mind. It may so happen that we may experience something with the help of our sensory organs, but because our mind was not there, we may not be able to remember it. We might have tasted something, but our mind was not there and we may not remember its taste or touch or smell or the color, because mind was not there. So, the job of the mind is that whatever has been experienced by the sensory organs, it is stored in the memory, and an imagination or visualization also takes place based on that memory, because if there was no memory, there will be no visualization also. And then comes the intellect. The job of the intellect is to make the analysis. So, for my physical existence, I can have it understood in four compartments, four parts: my physical body, my sensory organs, my mind and my intellect. On the other hand, since the consciousness does not have any properties of the matter, so it does not require sensory organs to experience the matter also. And since it does not require sensory organs, does not have sensory organs, it has no mind and it has no intellect. It is the driving force, and the force is applied on the body to make it functional. The consciousness has its own energy and the body has its own energy. The functioning of the body, if it is put to use in a manner which can be called abuse, it will be counterproductive. We know that we have mind and thoughts come into our mind. The nature has given us power to think, and it is based on thoughts that so much of advancement has taken place in the nature, in the human life. It is only the human being which has this infinite power of thinking and advancing. All the creatures in the universe other than the human beings, they have only very limited capacity to advance. they cannot travel beyond a point. We can understand this by way of example. Suppose a monkey performs certain tricks and we feel elated to see the monkey performing these tricks, because our belief is, and we know it, that monkey can perform only to a limited extent, not beyond a point. So is true of almost any other creature, because we know their limitations, and a small act which we have usually not witnessed being performed by them gives us a feeling that, look, this much they have learnt. But whatever best we have seen is very, very limited. On the other hand, the human capacity to learn, imbibe and advance is infinite. No limits can be put on to this, but we have to follow certain rules for that. I would like to compare the human mind with the physics of a car. The mind thinks, and there is a particular speed at which a mind thinks. The speed of thought is 40 thoughts a minute, scientifically spoken. A psychologist will tell you that we usually think, or the number of thoughts that come to our mind is usually 40 in a minute, which is known a beta speed, a beta state of mind, which happens at 14 to 35 cycles per second. On the other hand, a need arises to think deeply, to think intensively, to think aggressively, and we think faster. Now we enter a gamma state when we are thinking faster. The nature has given us that capacity to think faster. For example, a car is driven at a speed of 70 to 80, but a need may arise to drive it faster. We are on a highway, the road is empty and it is wonderful. The traffic rules permit us to travel at 100 or 120 kilometers an hour, and we want to reach in time. We drive it faster, we can, it permits us, or we have to reach an airport or a hospital, whatever the case may be. On the other hand, we know that if we drive at a speed of say 50 to 60, we will have an optimum average. The wear and tear will be much lesser, the lifespan of the vehicle will be longer, it will be less accident prone, and that is the ideal speed which is usually known as the test condition. Similarly, from a beta state of mind, while we usually go into the gamma state of mind and we have to think more and more, we may as well be going into alpha state of mind where we are thinking less, we have a quieter mind. If we go into that state, that is known as alpha state, thinking at a speed less than 14 cycles per second, or say at a speed of 7 to 13 cycles per second, the rule that applies to a vehicle or a car applies to our mind also. When we drive faster and on a continuous basis, the average will be lower, wear and tear will be higher, and we will be more accident prone. On the other hand, if we drive at an optimum speed, the wear and tear will be minimum, the average will be best, and there will be very little danger of an accident. If I translate it into our mind and thinking capacity, the more we think, we are using more energy, we are straining ourselves too much. There is a need and we must be thinking, but we must also be knowing that we should be driving in at alpha state also, we should be going into alpha state also. We have been trained to think, all our education, all our training is as to how to think and think more. That training is from going to beta state of mind to gamma state of mind. This is almost negligible training as to how do we go into alpha state of mind, whereby we think less. This thinking less is the inner silence. It is not the silence of my speech, it is the silence of my thought process. The moment I start thinking less, I start being at peace with myself. Being at peace means being happy, being in harmony. It is at this state that my intuitive power starts developing. All discoveries in this world have taken place with an intuitive mind. An intelligent mind has made advancement through analytical power, but mainly the intuitive mind is responsible for the discoveries. So, if we want that intuitive power to develop, if we want a cool decision to be made, if we want that peace, we will have to learn to be in alpha state of mind, we will have to learn the inner silence. Medically speaking, the medical world today accepts or rather propagates that 95% of the disease that we witness today, they are product of our psychosomatic disorders. Psychosomatic disorders means thinking too much. In case of anger, in case of fear, in case of jealousy, in case of lust, so on and so forth, will be by default thinking intensively and at a faster pace. It cannot happen that I am angry, but I am not thinking fast. On the other hand, if I am at peace, I will necessarily be thinking at a much lesser speed. I will be by default going into the alpha state of mind. The training of thinking more and more without training of inner silence or thinking less or advancing towards a thoughtless state has created many problems for us at physical level, as mental level and at emotional level. At physical level, it is manifestation of various disorders. All those emotions that are hitting us, they are leading to the more and more thoughts and consequently release of hormones from our endocrine systems. The moment a fear strikes us, the moment anger strikes us, it will be having an effect on my body, leading to generation of toxics, production of toxics. To fight those toxics, the adrenal will release adrenaline. Now, it has a limit to which it can be produced. A stage may come which comes more often than not, then adrenal is not able to release adrenaline anymore and is not able to fight with the toxics. The result is that we have various disorders which are known as blood pressure, diabetes, cardiac problem, anything and everything. That is what medical science says today. So, if we want that there are less of toxics, there is less need of adrenal being functional to release more adrenaline to fight the toxics, and we want to have a good physical health, a quiet mind and relaxed emotions, then we will have to learn to practice inner silence. The issue is that how do we do that? Is there a technique? Let us understand another aspect of it. The number of thoughts, the speed and rhythm of the breath, the movement of eyeballs, or for that matter, the functioning of each and every cell in our system, they are all interrelated, interlinked. One will necessarily and instantly affect the other. If I am able to hold my sway over one, I will be able to regulate the others also. If I can start regulating my thoughts, I will be able to regulate the rhythm and speed of my breath. Usually human beings breathe at a speed of 15 to 17 breaths in a minute. which correspondingly is a beta state of mind. But if I go into gamma state, my rhythm and speed of the breath will also undergo a change. My movement of eyeballs will also undergo a change. Functioning of each and every cell in my body will also undergo a change. But for our understanding and ease of understanding, let us take the breath alone. The speed and rhythm of the breath will undergo a change, and if I regulate my breath, I will be able to regulate my thoughts also. If I relax my body, I will be able to relax my breath, I will be able to relax my thought process also. That is precisely the reason that the nature has given us a need to sleep and made arrangement that we necessarily go for sleep, because during sleep the entire rejuvenation takes place. The fatigue that falls on us because of the thought, because of the physical stress, because of the emotions, is taken care of by the body and by the mind when we go into sleep. It is at this point that repair takes place, the maintenance takes place, the rejuvenation takes place. Just imagine if we were not able to sleep, what will happen with us? Just one day's sleep disorders put our entire system in danger. We feel absolutely uncomfortable. And if we start learning to relax our body, relax our thought, relax our emotions all the time, we will be able to overcome most of the fatigue that we have to deal with when we go into sleep. In fact, we appear to be advancing towards another extreme. The too much of stress, too much of thought, too much of emotional outburst is leading to sleep disorders. We are not able to sleep properly, and if we are not able to sleep properly, the body is not able to repair itself, rejuvenate itself, and it is becoming a vicious cycle. It is leading to many other disorders which we do not know how to deal with. So, we will necessarily have to work whereby we are able to relax our thoughts, and for relaxing our thoughts we will have to relax our body, or we will have to regulate our breath. We may start from any end, we will be reaching almost the same result, but it is much easier to relax our body and thereby regulating the rhythm and speed of the breath. Let me put it this way: the rhythm and speed of the breath is the barometer of my health. If we could be having scientific studies the way we are having various other gadgets like ECG, EEG, CT scan, MRI, whereby we study various vibrations taking place within us, if we could be studying the rhythm and speed of the breath and their relationship with our physical, mental and emotional health, probably it will be a big discovery and big boon to the mankind. I understand that some research has already started on this in the Western world. However, coming back to our topic, if we could be working on our breath and regulating its speed and rhythm, we will be able to quieten our mind and our thought process, leading to our inner silence. However, it is much easier to start with our body, because it is at gross level, we understand it more, we can connect with it more. There is a process known as Kayotsarga in Preksha meditation. Kayotsarga is one of the most important component of Preksha meditation. It is said that the Preksha meditation starts with Kayotsarga, that is by relaxing the body and thereby stabilizing the rhythm and speed of the breath, and consequently lowering the number of thoughts. And the Preksha meditation completes its journey when we are in a perfect state of Kayotsarga or deep relaxation, reaching almost to thoughtlessness state. For our purpose, we will be practicing Kayotsarga for say around 30 minutes today and trying to understand as to how it is done and try to have a feel of it. Once we know the process of Kayotsarga and we are able to practice it regularly, we can practice it anywhere. We can practice it while traveling in a metro or maybe in a bus or a car on a flight, or while sitting idly on a chair, or when we feel we have nothing else to do, or maybe when we feel that we are not able to sleep properly, we go into deep relaxed state of mind, relax our mind, and we have a sound sleep. A regular practice of Preksha meditation, Kayotsarga component, makes us totally relaxed at the physical level rather at the nervous level. Any anger or any emotion, any greed, it will first be manifested in our nervous system. The nervous system will be affecting the neuroendocrine system and the physical system. We know the moment anger creeps into us, the nerves will start getting tightened, and thereafter we will see its manifestation in our body, on our hands, on our tongue, in our eyes, so on and so forth. But if we learn to relax our nervous system through Kayotsarga, any emotional outburst will find it difficult to manifest itself in the nervous system. The nervous system will take time to accept that outburst, and consequently the endocrine system and the physical system will also not be responding. A continuous practice can make us immune from all kind of triggers that we have at the emotional level. And if we can learn that art, learn that science, we can regulate our emotions, we can develop our EQ, emotional quotient. IQ we already have, EQ we need to work on. The more we work on, the more at peace we will be. We will have lesser cases of road rage, we will have lesser cases of people being trigger happy, we will have lesser cases of the anger not being manifested in a classroom of pre and primary children, which we come across fairly often now. So, to learn Kayotsarga, let us first sit in a comfortable posture. It will be advisable to sit cross-legged. You can have a Sukhasana, a simple Palati cross-legged, or you could be sitting in Padmasana, the one that you are more comfortable with, and you can spend easily 30 minutes without getting disturbed, without getting any discomfort. The spine has to be straight, the neck slightly bending in the front, eyes softly closed, both the hands in the lap, the right above the left, and a relaxed body. You are in a peaceful state of mind. Relax. Relax your entire body, feel relaxed. We will be starting our practice by chanting Mahapranadhwani 5 times, that is the sound of the buzzing bee. Inhaling deeply and exhaling with the sound of the buzzing bee. By default, this will bring down the number of breaths from almost 15 to 17 or more to only 3 or so in a minute, and more the stability of the breath, the length and depth of the breath, the lesser the number of thoughts and greater the relaxation of the body and the mind. So Mahapranadhwani 5 times. Inhale deeply. Feel the vibrations. Relax. Please go over to the right toe. All the fingers, the sole right up to ankle. Suggest it to relax. Feel the relaxation. The right foot from the toe to ankle, relax. Deeply and slowly observe each and every part of the feet from the toe to the ankle, at muscular level, at cellular level. Suggest it to relax. Feel the relaxation. As I am suggesting, the organ is relaxing. Relax. Relax. Relaxed. My right foot is relaxed. From ankle to the knee, the calf muscle, each and every part. Relax. Relaxed. from the right knee to the waist, moving upward, watching each and every muscle at cellular level, suggesting it to relax, feeling the relaxation. Relax. Relaxed. From the right feet to the waist, the left foot up to ankle, relax. From the ankle to the waist, relaxed. From the left toe to the waist, relaxed. The right hand, the thumb, the fingers, the palm up to wrist, relax. Relaxed. From the wrist to the shoulder, moving upward gradually, observing each and every muscle, each and every cell, suggesting it to relax, feeling the relaxation. Relax. Relaxed. the left hand up to wrist, relaxed from the wrist to the shoulder. Relaxed. The navel part, the lower abdomen, the small intestine, the large intestine, the spleen, the pancreas, the stomach, the liver, the diaphragm, each and every organ undertake a journey suggested to relax, feel the relaxation. Relaxed. The heart, the left lung, the right lung, the ribs, the collarbones, relax. relaxed. The spinal cord, starting from the waist to the shoulders, going upward along the spinal cord, watching each and every vertebra and the muscles associated with it, relaxing in the process, undertaking the journey of observing the back and relaxing it. Relax, relax. The throat, the neck, starting from shoulders to the temple. Relax from deep inside. The vocal cord, relaxed. The mouth, the tongue, the jaw, the teeth, the lips, the chin, relax. The cheeks, the eyes, the ears, the temple, relax. The forehead, the head, from end to end, left to right, take a little longer to go deep inside and relax each and every neuron, each and every cell. Relax, relax. Let us take a trip from the top of the head to the toe and a return journey, slowly traveling from each and every organ of the body, observing and relaxing it deeply, halting for a moment wherever there is stress, suggesting it to relax deeply and moving on. A journey from head to the toe and toe to head, observing each and every organ, each and every part of the body and entering into deep relaxed state.